Hi everyone, I'm the Plant Propagator and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to start on a journey. This is going to be the longest video I've ever made. Now don't shut me off, not time-wise, but time that it's going to take to finish it. There's been, through the comments, there's been an interest in following the course of an orchid seed over time. Once I sterilize it, putting it into the flask, transferring it to from the seed germination medium to the replate medium, and then deflasking. And that typically takes, 9 months to a year. And I've been putting it off, and it's like, fine, okay, I'm going to start to put it together. So today is day 0. What I have are 2 different orchids that we're going to follow the journey of. The first one is a Dendrobium, and these are dry seed. So these are not from the immature seed capsules. These are from mature seed capsules. This is dry seed. This is a Dendrobium, the first one right here, and this was provided by Tristan from Ingrid's Orchids and More. So Tristan, thanks for these seed. So this is a Dendrobium species, and we're going to follow this along as it develops. So and I'm not sure what I'm going to do, 1 week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks. It's just whenever there's a change in how the seedlings or seeds or something like that look. But today is day 0 for the Dendrobium. And the other thing, this is a Cattleya Veriflora. So these are, again, mature seeds that were provided by Alan Black, who is a really great breeder, and he gave me the seed. We exchanged pollinia, but then he from something else. But then, as far as exchange goes, he gave me some seed of Cattleya Veriflora. He said that he had enough of it, doesn't want any more. So we're going to try this as a Cattleya species. It might be a primary hybrid. And we're going to follow this one over time too. The first step in the process is placement of these dry seed in microfuge tubes for sterilization. So, and what I do is I use a clean forceps to do this. So we're going to show you all the steps. So here we go. So this is dry seed in the seed packet, and I don't know whether you can see it, but it is right here. I just grabbed a bunch of seed. I'm going to put it in this tube. All right, so now I have, this is again the Cattleya Veriflora. I have this Dendrobium. I'll put the species up once I learn how to, I'll put it on the screen, but once I learn how to say it, I'll use it in subsequent videos. And what I prepared is I used to use a 10% bleach solution to sterilize the seeds, and I backed down to 2.5%, but now I'm going to go in between. So I'm going to put these in a 5% bleach solution, sterilize them for 15 minutes, and I don't want to walk through all the stages of that because you've seen that before, but then I'll plate it out, and I want to show you what the seeds and the embryos look like on day 0. So I'm going to follow up and do the seed sterilization and plating, and then we'll take a look at the seeds. All right, and we're back. Still day 0. So I just plated the seeds of the Dendrobium and the Cattleya, and I wanted to share with you what they look like. And I'll put some images on the screen. I can't get video. My microscope isn't set up for that, but I'll put images on the screen of what these seeds look like. So first of all, I have a lot more Den seeds than Cattleya seeds, so the Den seeds are going to be much more densely plated, and I shouldn't have done that, but that's just how it worked out. The embryos and I'll try to use the same magnification each time, but as we move forward with age, I may have to lower the mag in order to be able to see everything. The Dendrobium seeds are, there's each seed has an embryo in it, so it's a very efficient process. The pollination process in this Dendrobium was extremely efficient. I don't see, now occasionally you see embryos or seed that don't have embryos in it. The embryos are oblong. They're kind of yellowish or golden, and they're pretty big. They fill, I think, probably, I would guess about 80% of the space within the seed. So there's a lot of them there, and they looked really good. Now, I didn't show you this, but the seed, when I took it for sterilization, it had a little bit of a yellowish tinge to it, and it's because the embryos in there are the yellow or gold color, and they fill the majority of the seed. So this is a very high, high fertilization process. The embryos within the individual seeds are fairly large, and again, that's the Dendrobium. With the Cattleya, what you can see, if I could get my, there we go. So the embryos within the Cattleya seeds, first of all, there's a lot fewer of them. I would imagine that about, let's see if I look over in this area, I would imagine that about half, or maybe a little less than half of the seed in this batch have embryos in them. So it was a lot less efficient process, and there's a number of potential explanations for that. The embryos within the individual seed are dark. There's really no color to them, and they're smaller relative to the size of the seed. So I guess the embryos here fill maybe 40%, maybe 50% of the space inside the seeds. They are also elongated. Sometimes with the Cattleya, the embryos will be spherical. These, from this specific Cattleya Veriflora cross, they're elongated also. But I just wanted to share these images with you and share this with you because we're at 0 day. All right, as we move forward, I'll share with you what the seed looked like at at different time points, and hopefully we'll follow along. The video won't get too long, and this will be fun. All right, day 0, here we go. Okay, and we are back. So this is a week since the initial plating of the Dendrobium and the Cattleya seeds, and what I want to do is go over with you what has happened in the past week. And I took a look at them earlier today, and I'll put images up on the screen, but the changes in the first week really are remarkable. There was a lot that happened with this seed. So first, I'm taking a look at the Dendrobiums, and the seed, the embryos that you could initially see inside the seed that were encased in the seed, it looks like those embryos have grown or not, so that they're now filling the entirety of the seed. They're still elongated. They've gone from yellow, kind of a yellowish green, to green, so they're greening up a lot too. You can, I'll get an image of the embryos in the seed under the scope, and then I'll also get images with my phone of what they look like closer in the dish, and you could start seeing little specks. If you look at the dish, you can start seeing little specks of green within the dish, but they're still pretty small. But I think that the embryos within the first week, even, and these are dry seed, they have maybe not quite doubled in size, but they've gotten a lot bigger, and they look pretty nice. So that's 1 week on the Dendrobium seeds. The Cattleyas, in looking at the Cattleyas, yikes. The Cattleyas got a lot bigger, the embryos. So as you look through here, can you see them? I don't know. I can't. You can't really see them just with my naked eye very well. You know, I should also say the dishes. There's condensation that forms on the dishes in the evening when the room cools a little bit and the lights go off, and repeated temperature fluctuation leads to condensation. So when I'm looking at the plates, I'm looking in the areas that are around the outside of the plate where condensation is less likely to form. But what you can see when you look at these things are the embryos within the seed. They look like they, in a week, again, dry seed, they look like they've about tripled in size. They've gone from almost clear or colorless or maybe a little bit light yellow. They're now pretty intense green, and they're spherical. So these things are growing very, very quickly within 1 week. So that's all I have at this very early time point. Really remarkable growth on both the Dendrobium and the Cattleya seeds the embryos within 1 week. And we'll just keep on doing this, and hopefully the video won't get too long. All right, so see you in a week. Okay, and we're back. So we are now 2 weeks since the initial plating of these seeds, and there's a lot of development, a lot of growth, lots of things going on here. So taking a look at the Dendrobiums first, the individual embryos have now gotten so big that you really can't see the remnant of the seed coat much anymore. You can still see it if you look at it, but the embryos within the seeds are now huge. I'm looking at these and I don't see, it's still a little early to see any leaf formation or any flattening of the protocorum, but it's only been 2 weeks and these embryos have gotten really big in the Dendrobiums, and things are going well. In the Cattleyas, there's still there's been a nice increase in the size and the growth of the embryos within the seeds of the Cattleyas also. You can still see, it's about the same thing. You can still see the seed coat, what's left of that. But there's been, you can't see any flattening or rounding of the protocorms, and you can't see any leaf formation yet, the little point that's going to come out of the tip of the protocorms. But really nice growth. What you have to, again, remember here is that it's only been 2 weeks. So this is what I would consider to be really nice growth for the 2 week time point. What's going to happen here is that I'm making weekly observations, and I'll do this once, maybe one more time just in a week, and then I'm going to have to spread the weeks or the timing apart, spread the time points further apart. So I'm not going to be doing every week because you're not going to be able to see much. So I might just do after the next time point, I might do another week, or we might just start doing monthly or maybe bi-monthly as these things get larger. But I just wanted to share this 2 week time point with you. Again, you can see a lot that goes on at the early time points, and then things really don't slow down that much, but you can't see as much as every week, because these embryos within the seeds were so small when I first flasked the seed, and they've just grown so quickly. And then once they've doubled, tripled in size, it's hard to see further down the road. And then once you have a larger mass for an embryo, you don't get the same the same level of growth acceleration. All right, so 2 weeks, things are looking really good, and we'll see you in another week or two. And we're back. So this it's been a week, so we are now at the 3 week time point, and to be honest, we'll do the 4 week time point, but then I think we don't need to go every week. I think every month or maybe even more is going to be fine. There isn't a whole lot that changed between week 2 and week 3. The Dendrobium embryos have gotten, I think, a bit bigger. I don't really see anything other than that. There's no organization. There's no development. I don't see, you know, any primary leaf formation going on here. The protocorms, I guess, maybe they aren't spherical anymore, so they're starting to have a little bit of a pointed top to them, but I don't see any leaf coming out of it. So this is the Dendrobium at week 3. The Cattleya, in looking at that, the Cattleya embryos themselves are much bigger than the Dendrobium embryos, and also I think they're just bigger, and I think in some of the larger embryos of this, and there's a range, even though this is a, you know, it's a hybrid between 2 species, and so the plants are going to be pretty similar, that doesn't happen. Still genetics are involved, and what's going on here is we have some of the larger embryos here are starting to not only form a point, but you're starting to see the little, the primary leaf that's coming out of some of these Cattleya embryos. So things are progressing nicely. If you look every week or every day, things are going, I guess, kind of slow, but in the orchid world, this is fast. So it's only been 3 weeks. The embryos here are, they're big, they're green, but they're not huge, and I'm not seeing much. I'm starting to see, you know, it's progressing. I'm starting to see maybe a little primary leaf, at least the point where the primary leaf comes out. I'm starting to see that forming, but no primary leaf in the Dendrobiums, and in the Cattleyas maybe a little bit more, because the embryos are bigger, maybe a little bit more development. All right, so that's week 3. And the next time will be week 4. Oh, cut myself. Week 4. And we're back. So this is, we're now at 4 weeks, a little after, actually 4 weeks after plating of the seed. And the growth of these things has just been remarkable. It's a month, about a month. And so I'm looking at this thing, the Dendrobium, you might be able to see from even there that the plate is just fully green. The embryos are actually starting to develop the first leaf. So as I look at them, first of all, I you know, as I've said, I plated these things way too dense, and ideally I should have plated them a little denser. The leaves, the primary leaves that were starting out as just a little point out of these protocorms that formed, those are now expanding quite a bit, and on some of these, and some of the, it's unusual, but in some of the more advanced seedlings, you can actually see a secondary leaf coming out. So the Dendrobiums are just moving, continue to develop very, very quickly. I'm starting to get a little concerned that they're too dense, but I'm just going to let them go. These may be ready to transfer in another month to the replate medium, which would be 2 months, which would be really, really fast. But part of this thing is I want to push them through as quickly as I can and see how they do. Now the Cattleyas are considered slower. So the protocorms are big, and we're just starting to see on these, and they're green, but you can't see the green in the plate like you can with the Dendrobiums. We're starting to see formation of that primary leaf on the top of these protocorms, but really it's very early development. But I mean, they're still growing nicely. So still for Cattleyas to see this level of growth 1 month after flasking, seed plating is still remarkable. All right, so that's an update. I kind of wanted to let you know where we go, and we'll check back. It might not be 2 weeks, it may be a month that we'll see. But as fast as the den's growing, it might be 2 weeks later. So we'll see. Anyway, today is a little over the 4-week time point, and I wanted to give you that update. And we're back. So now we are at 2 months. We're about at the 8-week time point. And at this, what happens is you see a lot of changes in the embryo and protocorm formation early on, and then things slow down just a little bit. It's been on the same medium that it started out for 2 months, but there are some changes. So I haven't shown you what's happening within these dishes for a month. So let's start with the Dendrobium, and these look pretty good. They look real good. So, but what you can see in here is really nice primary leaf formation, maybe some secondaries in some of these things, that some of the leaves, some of the protocorms are starting to form. They're getting bigger, first of all, and they form primary leaves, and then the secondary leaves are coming out of these dendrobiums. So they're pretty good. What I'm going to do is wait just a little bit longer, because I'm waiting to see some root development in these dendrobiums. So we're not quite there yet. The protocorms themselves, like I said, are huge. They're really big. It's progressing nicely, but not quite ready to transfer. So that might happen either at the 2.5 or the 3-month time point. But what you got to be careful about is not acting too quickly. If you take these when they're too young and put it on the replate medium, they may not perform as well. So I'm going to wait till I see on some of them the start of root formation before I'm ready to transfer. It looks good. They'll be ready to transfer soon, but they're not quite ready yet. With the Cattleya, let's take a look at these. The protocorms, these look, I guess they almost look the same. But the protocorms also are getting pretty big. We're starting to see, there's just really nice primary leaf formation on most of these, or maybe not on most of them, but on some of them. And we're starting to see also some secondary leaves that are growing out of the protocorms from the Cattleya. What I do really with everything is there's a mixture here. So, and it's more noticeable in the Cattleya, and it may just be because of this specific hybrid that we're looking at. But there's a lot of variability. So some of the protocorms looks like they're starting to proliferate. Some of them, there's really not good development. But what I'll do when it's time, which is going to be about the same with the Dendrobium and the Cattleya, so at about, we'll take a look at it at 2.5 and then 3 months. But once we're starting to see a little bit further development, maybe some root formation, I will go in and I'll actually pick the best ones from underneath the microscope that I have in the hood behind me. So they're not quite ready to transfer to the next medium, the replate medium, but they are looking really good and things are progressing nicely. Orchid development is slow. It's always slow. I've got what I think is a really good seed germination medium and a development medium. So we get pretty quick development. So probably for both of these, they may be ready to deflask at 9 months, certainly by 12 months. And that's as far as I'm going to go with this video, but it's a little slow, so it does take a little while. All right, so that's where we are. I just wanted to share with you about the 2-month time point, and I'll see you back when we're ready to transfer these, when they're big enough and they're ready to transfer these from the germination medium to the replate medium. And we're back. So in spite of my good intentions of bringing you weekly and monthly progress of the Dendrobium and the Cattleya, things got a little bit away from me. And it's now been a total of 4 months since the seeds were flashed, and I did some things in between and didn't make videos of it because I've been kind of running around like crazy. And what I want to do is, so we're missing some months, but I can kind of give you an update and let you know what happened in that time and what things look like. So starting out with the Dendrobium. So they've been moving along really quickly. These were, so at the 2 months time point, or maybe 2.5 months, the seedlings were taken from the mother flask and then placed on the replate medium. So I made 5x5 grids of the Dendrobiums on a replate medium about this is 2.5 months ago, and so it's a total of maybe 4 or 5 months. I'm not even, I think it's maybe a little over 4 months is the time. So what's happened on this is everything has been growing really quickly. And so I made 5x5 grids, and I'll show you how I do that with the Cattleya in just a second. The Cattleyas are a little bit behind the Dendrobiums. The Dendrobiums are moving, and I'm having other issues with the Cattleyas that I'll explain to you. But with the Dendrobiums, 5x5 grids were made on the replate medium in Petri dishes about 2.5 months ago. And what you can see, I hope, on the bottom of this plate, it's right here, is that on this one, there's incredible root growth. So these need to come out of the replate, the first replate medium, and then get placed on a second replate medium in here. And these will probably take off after they're in the replate medium. And I'll show you how I do this, but it's pretty standard practice for me. Since there's so many roots in here, what I do is I scoop around the outside of the dish and I reach underneath and pull the whole plug, everything, the roots and the seedlings and everything, and I just slide it on top of this medium. And as fast as these things are growing, I think that they're going to start out here, and I'll show you, and I think they'll be up to the top in probably about 2 or 3 months. These guys are growing really quickly, and it may be the case because this is a species Dendrobium, which tend to grow pretty quick. So let's see how it looks, and we'll do the first plate and see how it goes. The only challenge of this is, and that I'm seeing here, is that the roots tend to stick to the dish, but that didn't seem to have been an issue. And I don't know whether you saw it or not. I'll do another one that's a little bit more out in the open, just to make sure that you can see what's going on here. All right, so this is the first one, and again, what happened is they went really nicely into that flask. Oop, top's not quite down. There we go. All right, second one is right here. All right, now you can see it. And just incredible growth of these Dendrobium seedlings. And we'll slip underneath it, and so this is what you try to do. And so this is just the whole plug that contains all the old medium and everything, and this just goes right on top of the medium. And okay. And then back here. So I've got and I've got 2 more of these to do, and what I'm going to do is take a little bit of a break and then show you what I'm going to do with the Cattleya seedlings. Okay, and we're back. So now, so all of the Dendrobiums are now in the flasks, the large containers, and give you an update. Probably going to be, you know, a month, 2 months before we see anything. But they, you know, they're starting out pretty small, just you know, as tall as the dishes are that they came out of, which is less than an inch tall. And maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll keep periodic updates. So what I have now and what I want to share with you are these the Cattleya Veriflora, and I have these are the original plates here, but I do have some that have already been transferred into replate medium that I'm sorry I didn't share with you before. So what I want to do now is just go through here. I don't have you know, really much of this, but I want to go through here and just select the nice seedlings from the seed germination medium and then transfer that to the replate medium. The seed germination medium is a little bit different from the replate medium. A lot lower salt concentration, same sugar levels. A few other things are the same, but there are some other components in the replate medium. So what you tend to do, because it's higher salt, other components, you tend to get a little, depending on what the plant is, you tend to get a little bit faster growth or burst of growth. So what I'm going to do is, and sometimes I'll do this underneath the microscope. Today I'm just going to use reading glasses that can let me see what's going on in here. So I'm just going to, and I'll probably speed this up, I'm just going to go in here, pick out the nice seedlings, and then transfer those to the replate medium. So I just have a few here, and I'll speed it up so you can see what I'm doing, and we'll go from there. Okay, so that was one plate. I'll probably get a few more plates out of this. So I made a 5x5 grid on this plate, and I selected the nicest seedlings that had nice primary leaf on this. Normally, when I do this, I like to see roots coming out of the base of the seedling, but on these guys I'm not seeing that. So I do know that I'll get the roots will grow out of the base of these on the replate medium and not really on the germination medium. The other thing that you see in these plates is that you see some proliferation of protocorm-like bodies, PLBs. And so you'll have just proliferation, just multiplication, not really elongation. And I avoid structures like that because what I'm trying to get is nice defined you know, structures that have protocorms and leaves, and if there's a little bit of root associated with it, that's fine too. So this is one plate. I'm going to make a few more, and we'll kind of get updates as we go along. I'm not sure if the next update is going to be in 1 month or 2 months, probably be 2 months, but we'll have to see how things go and grow, and we'll have to see how things look and if I have the time to do this. All right, so that's it for the 4-month time point, and we'll see you in a few more months and give you an update of how the seedlings are growing. All right, and we're back. So this has been a long journey. The orchids that unfortunately I decided to share with you as far as the progress from seeds to deflasking, these were some of the slowest growing orchids that I've ever had to flask in the laboratory, but they're ready to go. It's been a little bit less than a year. It's been about 11 months since I first flasked the seed. It's been such a long time since I did the replating in these containers that I can't even remember the last time that I talked with you about this. And they aren't even hitting the top of the container. This is the Dendrobium here. Right here is the Dendrobium, and this is the Cattleya. And the Cattleya is a small one, and this is as big as I think it's going to get. It's been sitting in here for a little while, and it's ready to go. So what I want to show you is what these look like and how I process them at this last time point and how big they've gotten. But you know, again, they're slow growing. And as far as the Dendrobium, normally they hit the top of the container in less than 9 months. This took close to a year. And again, the same thing with the Cattleyas. They're just not even halfway up the container. And after close to a year, and normally this takes, again, the same thing, about 9 months. So I'm going to show you what these things look like. So first of all, the Dendrobium right here is coming out, and I also, the roots on this are, what's in here, pretty good. The roots on this are pretty fibrous as well. But this is what the Dendrobium looks like right here. The root system is all the way around here. It's not even fully covered the bottom of the flask, but it's still a nice root system. I actually have shared this with some other folks, and they said how extensive and how nice the root system was. And you can see what happened is it didn't grow into the medium as well as other Dendrobiums have done. But what I'm going to do is rinse the medium off of here, and we'll take a look at the plants and how it looks. We'll do this with the Dens first, and then we'll do this with the Cattleyas. And I don't want to show you, I've made a lot of different videos on how these seedlings are actually transferred. But the first thing that you do, again, it gives you a little bit of an idea for the root system and how the root system looks here. But the best way to handle this is to kind of tease them apart as best as you can. And they're in there pretty good, as you might imagine when you have a root system that looks like that. But I'm going to see if I can, wow, they're in there really good. So I'm trying to tease them apart, and I don't know if you can see what's going on, but they're starting to fall apart. And there's not that many, okay, there are quite a few plants in here. They're not quite as big, again, as I thought they would be, but these are decent sized plant. Here's a nice big one right here. And I think the reason it looks like there's so many of them in here is because this is an individual plant right here. So this again gives you an idea of what these plants will look like, but it's got a primary cane growing out here, and then some additional canes growing out, and they do get pretty big. All right, so that's what these guys are looking. Some small ones here. We have to decide if any of these runts are worth keeping. But let me tease up another group here. And then of these Dendrobiums, if I can, the root system is so tangled. Okay, now they're coming across, but here we go. So you can see what these guys look like. So we'll tease, there's going to be a lot here. I put 25 in each one of these, but I think there's going to end up being more than that for some reason. But and maybe that's why they didn't grow as tall, is because maybe there was more in there than I had originally intended. And some of these are small, so the question is, do we want to keep some of these really small ones? And the answer to that question is no. So we'll try to keep them more reasonably sized. So I think this is okay, and I think this is what we're going to get. And again, there's some bigger ones and lots of smaller ones. And what you can't see, but some of the smaller ones, as they're kind of falling out of here, they're ending up in the sink. But I just barely scratched the surface of these seedlings. And I think we probably have about 20 of them that I pulled out already. Again, here's a nice one right here that has, you can see a primary cane right here, and then here's what looks to be a secondary cane, a new growth coming out of the base of this. So we'll do this. It just is going to take too long to go through all these. What I'll do is I'll get back with you at the end and show you what they look like when they're all potted up. I do also want to show you, we're going to move quickly, and I want to show you what the Cattleya Veriflora looks like. So these plants again are not quite as big as I had wanted them to be. And what happens when your hands get wet is that it's a lot more difficult to move these things around. So again, the Cattleya Veriflora here, when I pull them out, this is what the Cattleya Veriflora looks like. There's a little bit more growth here in the medium. These plants are, I mean, they look pretty good, but I imagine what's going to happen as we get the medium off from here, and we're starting to see the extensive root system that we're going to uncover here. And I don't know how many plants, what goes in here. I know what we intended to plant in here. And so there should be 25 seedlings in here. These grew kind of different. There are some of the seedlings that look like they're more proliferative, but we're only going to keep the ones where the seedlings are themselves elongating. But this is a real tight root mass. So again, you can see what the root system looks like here. It's pretty impressive. I mean, that's a lot of roots. But what I'm going to try to do, or see if I can do, is tease this thing apart. What we definitely are going to throw out are stuff like this, runts not worth keeping, where it looks like there's been more proliferation. The real small ones, sorry, they're going. I mean, these are small ones that have nice roots. With the number of plants that we're generating here, it's just not worth holding on to. So let me try to pull out some nice plants here, and we'll take a look at it, then we'll take a break as I pot these guys up. Okay, so not a great plant here, but not bad. And we'll keep on trying to pull some of these out of here. And what you have to do is, again, mix this in water and kind of tease them. And the plant, for some reason, this plant, the apical part, the top part, hasn't grown that much, which is fine, but look at the massive root system there. So definitely a keeper. And as we pull, we can pull a few more out of here. And the root systems on this, like I said, are pretty extensive. But then it's a question of trying to tease everything apart. So again, a little small plant here with a big root system, not worth keeping. This is probably at the low end of holding on to, this plant right here, because the root system is really very nice. Got a decent top on it. For other orchids, I would say no, but this appears to be a small, a much smaller group. The plantlets seem to be a lot smaller. A nice size orchid here. Again, massive root system, which is the main thing that grew here. Looks like I don't know if that's no, that's a leaf. That's not another pseudobulb here. But, overall, when you look at this, that's pretty impressive. So we got a lot of work to do. Let me pull out a few more. Again, this is a decent plant right here for this group. Again, for the Cattleyas, normally it's about half the size, half the height that I'd like it to be. And I really want to get this taller one out, and it's resisting me a lot. But this one right here, and we'll stop with there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take a break, and we'll we'll get these guys potted up, separated as best as we can. It's a tangled mess, but if you, under the right conditions, they kind of tease apart, and then yeah, and you lose some roots. So there's a few roots falling off of this one, but I'll then pot them up. It looks like, is this a single plant here? Yeah, so that's one plant right here. Anyway, what we'll do is I'll pot these up, and we'll get back with you, and I'll show you the final results, and then that'll do it for this journey on these two different orchid types. All right, and we're done. So, and as done as we're gonna be. Didn't take that long. So the person holding the camera did the Dendrobiums, which are right here. And what happened, there were so many of them, what happened at the end is she started potting them up, 2 in a pot. The first ones were, there's some really nice big ones in here that I showed you before, and those went in on their own, but then at the end they got smaller, so she decided to put 2 or more in a single pot, which is fine. But this is one flask, and there were a lot of plants that are in there. So what'll happen is they'll get watered in, then I'll treat them with some just general antifungal Physan 20, very low concentration. Put the top on the container, and then let it just grow at very high humidity in the regular culture room. So this is the Dendrobium final stage, and where I'm going to cut off. I'll show you these as they develop, but I just wanted to finish my video because it's already been close to a year and it was time to finish up. Okay, moving on. This is the Cattleya Veriflora right here, and again, these are pretty small plants. But, and this is a new tub that they're in, and they're moving around, so I got to be careful that they don't move around too much. But this went really well. There's an extensive root system that is in each pot that you can't see, that you saw from the first part of the deflasking that I showed you. Really extensive root system. These are planted at the right depth so that we'll see some secondary roots that will grow out of here over time, but we'll treat them the same way as the Dendrobiums. I'll water them in really well, and then treat them with a very weak solution of Physan 20. All right, so that is the end of this close to a year-long voyage journey from seed to deflast orchids, and we'll stop there, give you periodic updates as these plants grow bigger, but it's time to call this done. All right, that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed my video. If you did, and you want to keep on seeing them, it would help me out if you could click on like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already a subscriber. All right, long video. Hope you enjoyed it. That's all I have for today. Happy propagating.